feedback. Be very careful of feedback.
An awesome and huge pleasure to be here, and luckily I can't see any of your faces, so that's perfect. I don't need to get worried because there's really nobody out there. Look, it's fantastic to be here, and I feel really privileged to spend such an important evening. And frankly, I'm a bit freaked out because Shakespeare is such a hard act to follow, especially with the amazing music, the fabulous acting we've seen tonight. It's been wonderful. I think we should give them an extra round. And I'm absolutely stunned at the building here. It's because I'm a ex-student, so it's just wonderful to see everything coming alive again. And you'll notice that Ngaio Marsh, as well as the Dramasoc, are sponsored by Benson and Hedges. So there's a lot of cigarettes. But I'd like to start off by, saying this is the best thing you're going to hear tonight is this is not a lecture. Even though I look old enough to give one, it's just a chat and a little bit of reminiscing and thinking and reflecting on the fabulous contribution that Ngaio Marsh has made to Christchurch, to the university, well, we'll find out what. But there she is, glamorous, gorgeous, dramatic, a drama queen as well as a queen of crime. So I want to just look a little bit further back than this and actually go back to her childhood in Christchurch. It does probably feel like a lecture, but it'll be quick. The thing is that there is a mystery about Dame Ngaio Marsh that starts right with her birth. Everybody was convinced, and she managed to carry it off brilliantly, that she was actually born in 1899. In fact, it was 1895. So she sliced off 4 years of her life, and so she was always actually 4 or 5 years, 4 and a bit years older than the age that she claimed to be. So the mystery is there, and we've never really got to the bottom of how she managed to do that. But her father, who was a rather absent-minded character, actually did not register her birth. So her birth certificate was actually, I think, backdated, but she just kept that 4 years younger. So there, she was an only child to theatrical parents. Rose Marsh really, in a way, should have been the great actor, and actually her parents met in the context of the theatre. But really, I think Rose Marsh lived through and expressed herself and actually realised her own ambitions through her daughter. And so Ngaio was just one of those children that was an only child. And had the complete focus of a very dramatic and loving and nurturing and caring family. So here we have Rose Marsh there, and also Henry Marsh. So the daughter, the only child of a very intensely caring family. And interestingly enough, she kind of had this sort of huckleberry finner, that's how she described it, sort of hunting, fishing and smoking. She was the only child, and I think Henry Marsh kind of brought her up a little bit as though she was the only son. So, to some extent. So she had this kind of wild, imaginative, she used to smoke pine needles. Not a good thing, I would say, that she began that smoking very young. And I think the pine needles are probably worse than Benson and Hedges. But anyway, so her youth was, quite colourful. I've got a few fabulous pictures here. Ngaio on a pony that her actually father managed to arrange for her as long as she broke them in. So kind of yeah, exactly, cheap shot, that one. But anyway, she rode on she had the ponies, and they weren't a particularly wealthy family, but they were particularly cultured in the work, and their involvement with the theatre and their appreciation for education were things that meant that she had the aspirations and the nurturing and a kind of wild, a wild imagination as well. So here she is, Ngaio Marsh. She went to a Dane school. She loved animals. This is the family spaniel Tip. She actually did have as well as dogs, she had a gun. She was given a gun by her father, I think that would have been. So she actually even went hunting. So kind of a really diverse and interesting and richly imaginative kind of childhood, I think. One of the things that Rose Marsh and her parents both wanted for Ngaio was a childhood that gave her the maximum that she could possibly get. And St Margaret's was opening. She was one of the first students, first day pupil at St Margaret's College, and it was chosen by her mother because it was a college that would deliver the same sort of education as a male child of her age. So really always they were looking to extend and expand Ngaio's opportunities and horizons. So here she is in her school uniform. She became head prefect, and I think it was here that she also became involved in drama and produced plays and was really always interested in the theatre, but always supported by her mother and her father both particularly. The fourth member of the Marsh family was Martin Cottage, designed by her Seeger, a cousin of Rose's. So it's here in Christchurch. You can't possibly go on through a whole lifetime and not have visited that place. So there we are. There's the first thing to do. You must visit it, and you must experience and become immersed in the beauty of that building, the structure, but also the things that Ngaio loved that she kept close to her, and they were part of her life. Interestingly enough, we know Ngaio Marsh as a crime detective writer, I particularly do, and a theatre director, but really her ambition from young was to become a painter, and thank goodness she didn't. I can show you why in a minute. But it's good to have those ambitions, and we just need to get them knocked out of us sometimes, don't we? And find those new directions. So here we are. This is a book that she wrote. She illustrated, and I'll show you the illustrations. A little dry, but very, very proficient. And here we are. Slightly less dry because there's people in them. So she was skillful. She was clever, and she did produce some lovely work. But really, if she wanted to establish something greater and be something greater than her, than anyone else, then she was clearly not on the right path here. But she took 4 years at university or Canterbury College to actually work out she wasn't on the right path. So I guess in a way she didn't see that the theatre, she hadn't discovered really the skills that she had for writing. And she possibly did not see a future in the theatre for her, obviously in Christchurch. But the art scene was pretty lively. And here's she was working with the best of her work is actually quite accomplished, but didn't have that magic that some of the other, and that experimentation that some of the other some of her contemporaries had. So here we are, images that she made actually on one of her trips. So she took a quick sketch of this, I think on the back of a cigarette packet. So she was ready there, and she painted it actually when she returned to New Zealand. And actually, this image, actually looking down more or less from the house, is from her own house on the Port Hills, is actually a really capable work, really amazing actually, and it was well deserved its place on the cover of Art New Zealand. I really like it, but I think always her capacity for theatricality. This is the group, you know. So what does Ngaio Marsh do? She dresses like a bloke, which is quite a shocking thing to do, and it would have been quite unusual in those days, I think. Well, not entirely. You can see how the other women are dressed, and you can look at Ngaio Marsh there in the middle with the beret looking very arty. But you can also see an image there by Toss Williston, so you can see that some of the images are looking a little bit more exciting and adventurous. And so it was actually really when she left New Zealand. She became friendly with the Rhodes family, a sort of aristocratic family who were living in New Zealand at the time. They moved back to the UK. And they invited Ngaio to go with them. She was involved with the Rhodes in theatre in Christchurch, and really, in a way, it was she moved through a door into a new world, into a new experience. She left painting behind. She didn't leave the theatre behind, but she moved out of New Zealand for a while and became, in a way, I think, reinvented herself. And you can see here, there she is. There's a lineup of the Rhodes there. They're on holiday in Kent. Nellie Rhodes was a particular friend of hers. Nellie's in there, that stunning two-piece suit there. And Ngaio and that, you can see, actually. So they're looking as though they're having a really fabulous time. And they went to Monte Carlo. And you can see that suddenly they became quite upmarket. And that was their winnings on the roulette table in Monte Carlo. So the Rhodes were exciting. She had an adventure really from the beginning with them. Initially they lived just out of London and then moved into London, and it was kind of like, she described it as sort of almost like a roller coaster ride. They were often hard up, and once the money came in, whatever it was, wherever it came from, it would be spent rapidly and often given away generously, very generously. So this experience, when Ngaio's mother got over there and saw how she was kind of living a little bit too wildly, she kind of reined her in and said, you know, what about the theatre and what about your writing? Your writing, because she was going to, Ngaio left New Zealand with the ambition to write the great New Zealand novel. So she'd obviously forgotten that at the roulette table, I think. And so she actually started, she started writing, once she moved out, she moved into a small flat, a basement flat in London, and with her mother. And there she wrote A Man Lay Dead. And it was, she was thinking, she was obviously rolling around the idea of a crime detective novel. She was reading, she'd actually read a book by Marjorie Allingham just before, and there are some interesting kind of parallels between the plot of this A Man Lay Dead and Marjorie Allingham's book. But there was it was a phenomenon really in London or the UK at this time with women crime writers, and she became one of the basic queens of crime. And I know I just want to watch my time so that I don't go, because they've got a hook, they're going to pull me on stage. So the Queens of Crime were really well underway. Christie had written her first book in 1920 and sort of introduced Hercule Poirot, and 1930 was her next major crime subject, and so there was a lot of writing going on by these women it had been dominated particularly by Edgar Allan Poe, by Dickens, by of course Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle, and suddenly there was this flowering of female talent. And I don't think that Ngaio thought that it was going to go anywhere particularly. She wrote the book, she did have an agent, but she received the news that suddenly her mother was very ill, and she was called back immediately to New Zealand. Her mother had returned to New Zealand. She developed actually in the end she had cancer, and so Ngaio had to return very abruptly to New Zealand. And she threw the book, book that she'd written kind of in a bag and sent it to her agent, and went back to New Zealand, returned to New Zealand, and went through the process of her mother's death, tragic and quite early death. And suddenly, in amongst the letters of condolence, almost not long after that, writing their thank you letters, the letter arrived to say that she had actually had her book accepted, and it was going to be published. So it was an incredible opportunity for her. So amongst this amazing group of writers, Marjorie Allingham, Dorothy Sayers and Agatha Christie, we have our own, and actually their own, Ngaio Marsh, our Queen of Crime. So she carried on writing. I think it started out as a real talent that she had, but it became a livelihood, a bread and butter thing. I think she loved writing, undoubtedly loved writing. She never really fell out of love with her detective, Roderick Allen. I don't think she ever, not in the way that Agatha Christie actually would have liked to have divorced Hercule Poirot at some stage, or actually murdered him. And Conan Doyle pushed Sherlock Holmes off a waterfall. So I mean, a lot of people get frustrated with this genre, and they kind of do dire things to their main characters. But Ngaio always held on with great feeling, really, for Roderick Allen and Agatha Troy, who became his wife. So two key characters that she really, I think, in some ways represented both parts of Ngaio. So here's some lovely publicity photos from the 1930s and 40s, very elegant. She lived a kind of double life, a life in England that was very chic and public and showy and what it needed to be, and she was a celebrity. I mean, Ngaio Marsh was a celebrity. When she returned to the UK after a period of 5 years in 1937, she discovered really that she was well known, and it was a shock to her because she'd written, I think about three or four books in the meantime, and suddenly she'd become a sort of celebrity, and it was a shock to her. In New Zealand, that whole genre did not have the same kind of sway or power. So what she wrote was a kind of cosy crime writers sort of style or approach. And really, basically, the Queens of Crime all sort of approached their whole kind of their writing with this sort of stock group of characters. There was I've got the red-faced colonel, the desiccated vicar, the dilettante, the debutante, the writer, the artist, the foreigner. So it was kind of a cosy cast of characters that she used. But, of course, she brought a New Zealand twist to that when she set two of those amazing books, Diagonal Wall, Colour Scheme, and in New Zealand, and two more titles as well. So she brought that kind of world to New Zealand and brought a sort of exotic flavour to that, to the cosy crime writing approach to the UK, really. So here we have Miss Marsh is detected. So she went to the Detection Club, which was an eccentric kind of group, and what you can say is that crime writers are theatrical. Most of them were involved in the theatre. Christie, Sayers, they were all involved in the theatre, and they were all in some ways slightly eccentric. And you can see she actually did a fabulous radio a talk on one of her experiences of a crime detection dinner where detective fiction writers grouped together, very famous ones, Christie herself, and Ngaio was an occasional guest because she lived in New Zealand. Most of the time you had to be resident, really, to get to the meetings. So at one stage in a room in Grosvenor House, Dorothy Sayers, in a moment of drama, when a skull was flashing on a pillow, the eyes were lighting up, she shot a 6-shooter off to kind of give a drama to the whole performance. So it was a sort of ceremony that they had, kind of strange and rather kinky, I think, but you know, that's why they were all a little bit dramatic. That's excuse for them. So you know, I think crime writing it added a huge amount of colour to her world. It made a lot of money for her, though not as much as probably it should have. And it's something that she could bring in the theatre too. So she brought into her stories the theatre that she loved, and was at times directing as well. So she, in a way, I think she was a crime writer who really wanted to be a theatre director. But of course, she needed a day job, which was actually done at night. So she would write her books, 2.5 million words, not in each title, but in total, roughly. Oh, I didn't count, but you know, that's an estimate. But it felt like that when I was reading them. 32, that's quite, no, I enjoyed it. I really did. But 32 is it does affect your eyesight. So she would actually write at night and direct when she could during the day. And so I'm going to show you how successful she was. Remarkable. The Marsh million. A million, I wish. A million titles released in 1 year. The only people that got that kind of amazing, George Bernard Shaw, H.G. Wells, Christie, and Ngaio Marsh. So a remarkable thing to achieve, 10 titles and 10,000 copies of each. So it just shows you the kind of expectation of the market and the place that held in the imagination of people. So so this is Agatha Christie. They respected each other. In fact, perhaps Agatha Troy was just a little echo of Agatha Christie. We don't know. She denies it, but she denied lots of things. So you can never tell. I would probably too. But they did have a high regard, and they were often kind of spending a bit of actually referring to each other in the books. So there was a kind of subtext to the writing. But these stories were about death. These stories were about resolution, about the detective, which Nicholas Blake in 1942 called the fairy godmother of the 20th century. So in a way, this kind of evil reigns for a while, and finally the detective arrives, and things make sense, and they're ordered, and there's a process. And I wish life was really like that. And the villain is extricated. But really, what she wanted to do was write, not rewrite Shakespeare, but actually kind of, get rid of some of the bits that people might fall asleep over. She did do a bit of editing. I like this one, smouldering with great passion, because the passion was the theatre for her. And she loved the company the stimulation. She loved students. So here she is with you know, the students that she really loved to be around. They made her life. I think it would have been, in many respects, a much more lonely and solitary existence. But she had this world going on, these plays going on, and it was always something. There was always something to look forward to. So, and really, one of her legacies, if the 32 crime detective fiction stories are not a legacy in themselves, then surely this amazing theatre is. And the careers that she started, the careers that she was involved with, and the people's lives that she changed through the process of actually young people, in a way, moving into a character and in some ways beyond themselves, discovering themselves. If that makes sense, probably doesn't. But anyway, there she is on stage, statuesque and kind of slightly scary. I think you probably would have been trying very, very hard with Ngaio, because her expectations, her achievements, her own achievements were high. Her expectations would have been high, and she had every right to have those kind of expectations. So here we are. This is Ngaio with a student actor, Gerald Lassell, still here in Christchurch, but a lawyer now. In rehearsals for the, it's supposed to be inaugural, that's actually one word, but I don't know, it's a bit so it's the production of the 12th night at the Ngaio Marsh Theatre in 1967. So, wow, so we're kind of here again, and but you know, amazing. Such a lot of history's gone by and things have happened, but it's amazing how things can be sustainable and things can be great. And this is I think I put this slide in because I just love it, the drama, the theatre, actually the sets that she organised, the costumes that were designed, all the details. She was a perfectionist. She worked very, very hard, and I had to put this in because it's my favourite Shakespearean play, because I think it has the strongest and most intriguing woman in it. Sorry, anyway, it's my little bit of passion. So fantastic costumes, and you know, as I said, she was a perfectionist. She worked really hard on the detail of things. She introduced to New Zealand audiences, to Australian audiences, this kind of professionalism amongst the student, you know, company. And here we are, experimental with music, with Douglas Lilburn, experimental with set design with Tom Taylor, look, modern in the idea of dressing up the actors in contemporary dress. Look at those amazing theatre design. And she slated New Zealand theatre. In fact, the buildings said they were absolutely disgusting and shocking, and I believe that the Dramasoc have experienced some of that themselves recently, and are now just coming out of that grey zone and into the light. So here's the student actors, King Lear, 1956. Just some wonderful, wonderful memories and publicity shots. Elmer Cooper looking as though he's going to die with passion, and it's fantastic, or something. Wonderful, wonderful. It's just lovely, and you know, such professionalism, such such high standards. So Elmer Cooper, just to look at a few of the people that she had as students. Annette Facer was Cleopatra. She looks very dangerous. Now, tell me, who is this? Anybody? He was in the professionals. Yeah. Oh, this is the thing you need to do tonight, is to work out who that face is. Not the young one, the old one with the knife. I drew a blank on it, and I know the guy. I've seen him. Jonathan Elson. Here he is. So, just lovely photographs of the rehearsals, of the drama, of actually, in this case, the auditions, choosing the actors. Also here, Jonathan Elsom as chorus in Henry V, and Sweet Mr. Shakespeare, which he and Ngaio wrote together in 19, actually produced in 1975. So that love of Shakespeare, which really propelled her into the theatre, gave her that total love of directing, of being in charge of students. A woman who didn't have much time, I would think, for a private life. Wouldn't have been, would have been very busy, really, with her shows, with her writing. And she wrote her last book just weeks before she died. So the 32nd book was written just a few weeks before she died at what was supposed to be 81. But it wasn't. So I'll leave you doing the maths on that one. So, but she had these special friends, a group of wonderful women who supported her, and it was very, very difficult, very much a man's world, really. Theatre, very much even a man's world in a way, with writing and publishing. But she had this wonderful supportive group of friends who she adored, and again, I think this is actually a cruise. This shot here, and with a mystery woman who she travelled with, Sylvia Fox, a great friend of hers from her very, very first days of primary school, actually. So, well rewarded and well deserving of that award. Dame Ngaio Marsh receiving her medal, and I think she sort of in 1966 possibly thought it was a little bit late. That perhaps she might have actually got it a little earlier than that, but never mind. She did get it, and she was thrilled, and she actually delayed her trip home to receive it at Buckingham Palace. And someone played a practical joke on her and came and picked her up in a wheelchair, and she was actually wheeled in. It was sort of, it was actually a joke that the Rhodes had sorted out to play a bit of a trick on her. So, but she was always good-humoured and enjoyed humour and enjoyed that joke as well. So, and also for her theatre, but also for her writing, the famous Edgar Award for her stature, her status as a crime detective fiction writer. So really a woman who achieved so much, who leaves a legacy which is remarkable, who set many people on their path, who gave people their dreams, really, and helped them, guided them towards in the direction in which they could make those dreams possible. But as well as that, she loved kids and children, and used to throw a wonderful Christmas tree event at her home in Kashmir. And here's a picture from that. And the children I interviewed, which are really, actually Charlotte Wilson is one of them, who's on Concert FM, so they're quite large now. And, actually, I don't know how large they are, but they're quite old. Not really old, they're grown up. So here we are, here's Ngaio Marsh's with her Christmas tree with the children that she adored and was always thrilled to participate in creating an imaginative world for them. The one that she fed on herself, she grew from. She wanted to make that come alive, and I think maybe that is what she gave us. She gave us her imagination. She gave us the ability to dream, to think about new directions, and to go there and discover them. So I think I believe that there's a watering hole opportunity at the Foundry after this. So thank you very much for listening. You've been very patient, and I hope it wasn't a lecture.